Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life.
Hats.
Was that a Michael Saylor? Huh?
No, it's just I know what this pod's going to be about. How you going?
Oh, I see. Well, don't. I can't give. You're going to give it away. I'm going okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright. It's been a couple of weeks actually, because I think last week we didn't do a pod because we were on Justin's. Can we say that? I guess.
Well, we
we have now.
But it's not come out yet, so big news for big breaks for us.
Yes, that was a good chat though. That was really good.
He's a good bloke.
Keep
and
your face on
yeah, and the week before that you were up in with Daz. So
up in Cairns with
Daz.
Daz.
Been in the cold garage for a while.
That's right, Brendo and Daz.
The Brendo and Daz show.
That was really fun.
So have you ever? It'll be a while now because we're old men now. But remember when you're young and like you get a bit drunk and you'd rock up in some girl's DMs, or she'd rock up in yours. Like you had a few too many to drink, and you'd like, might just text, see how she's doing, or she might just somebody at 2 a.m. Oh, look who's texting me.
To be honest, not really, because I mean I've been with my now wife since I was like 21. So.
Well, obviously I'm just talking hypothetically.
Oh yes, I mean yes, I do.
So that's kind of how life used to be.
Yeah,
but life isn't like that anymore, because but I do still have DMs, and from time to time, people rock up in my DMs, and I'd like to and sometimes they send you messages. Sometimes they leave you little video messages. Sometimes they leave little like audio messages, and I'd like to just play one for you, right? Just to see this, so just to give people a feel for how things go for me. This goes on for a while, so bear with me.
Make sure that point's right at the mic.
I will do. Hang on a second, it has to go down a bit. Oh God, I've lost it. It's coming back.
Oh, excellent.
Here we go.
Right in front.
Small message here from Haggis Hall to Hats and Brendo on the Two Bit Idiots podcast that I would love to come back on your podcast, guys. Listen, I would love to just say phenomenal podcast, guys. I love the messages guys are giving to the smaller Bitcoiners in the space, that there is always a voice for the little people. It is absolutely phenomenal. And this kind of pish that I'm just going to talk for 5 minutes, I want you to cut this out because it's not relevant, but to say that Hats, Brendo, the work that you guys do is absolutely phenomenal, and fucking lot of pish here, a lot of pish there, blah 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 blah, and fuck knows, absolute fuck knows. Hats, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say fuck knows. Brendo, your part still shite, mate. And that is it. I'll send this voice. I'll send this message because you can relate to this, and just to say that you guys podcast, it gives a voice. You guys, Two Bit Idiots, gives a voice to the little people, because you will always relate to what you've got in front of you, and it's always the small people. And if you ever want a Scottish guy to outnumber you, Brendo, just give me a shout. I'm always there for you. Hats, I'm always there for you, mate. Brendo, you've got no chance, mate, okay? Absolutely no chance. I'll see you soon, boys, okay? All the best. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. What I understood, which was about half of that. What'd you call me? Brendo, you're a parcel something.
Introduce him. He's back.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Haggis.
I'm back, yeah. Hello, how you doing?
Good, mate. So when did you send that?
What was that, like 2 weeks ago now or something like that?
I've been waiting because I've been holding on. I've not let him listen to that yet. I've been waiting until he got back so I could.
Is Haggis okay for that to be public knowledge?
I don't care.
Not got a choice. Not good. That's the first time I've listened to it back since the night that I sent it. So a lot of it was actually new to me as well. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, it's never a night on the tequila again.
Was it tequila? Was it?
You
nice.
sound very coherent though, which is much better than I would have been, I reckon.
Oh, Trying hard, trying really hard.
The Scottish concentration voice.
Yeah, what's Pish again? Something about Pish?
Pish, he's got a podcast that's called Investors Podcast.
What does Pish mean?
Haggis, go on, you can translate.
It means incredibly inebriated, drunk, very drunk.
Oh, nice. All right, well, that's it. We'll end
You know
it
what
there.
patter means? Do you know what patter means?
Patter?
Yeah.
Like patter?
Yeah, patter, yeah.
Like talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that. Was there anything
that's
else that you didn't
Yeah, I
understand?
don't know. He said something about parcel tongue or something to me. But end all parcel something. You got no
I don't
fucking
know,
chance.
no idea.
This is my life now, people. This is what happens for me. Mate, nice to see you. How are you?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good. I mean, I had a bit of a sigh because...
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. So this particular pod or episode has yet again a football thing. So I'm really just here to...
You're making up the numbers.
Just to do the audio, really. So it's Haggis and Hats. Haggis and Hats.
So there you go. Against Brendo and Daz, we should have like a I don't know, cage fight.
Maybe.
This is going to be very niche. Oh, well, we go to Bitcoin a little bit, but this is going to be very niche for some people. But interestingly, Haggis is actually still. I don't know when was it, Haggis? We originally did one, because it's still one of the most listened to ones, which is.
Oh, it's good review. In tail end of last year, was it not? Something like that. It's September or October.
I reckon
as long as that.
I reckon that's because people are actually re-listening to try to actually understand what the fuck you two are saying.
Yeah, it's probably you've hit the nail on the head with that one.
The reason for it being now is the Scottish Premier League season is about to kick off, and I've just lost everyone.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks for joining us. And we thought we would have a bet this season. I don't even know what the money is, what the bet is, and where the money's going. But anyway, we'll work all that out just now. But Haggis is a big St Johnstone fan. St Johnstone is what would they say? As one of the smaller Premier League teams in Scotland, but Premier League team.
Steady on, Hat. Steady on.
That's pretty fair, isn't it? I am an Aberdeen. Go on.
Yeah, no, that is definitely say they're one of the smaller teams. Hats, what are you? Aberdeen, also one of the smaller teams.
Oh, there it is. And we have an average salmon who just didn't want to come on and talk because he just wanted to let the egos get on with it.
Yep.
But he is a Dundee United fan,
exactly.
And he's big on the big on Twitter as well. Really good follow. So go follow an average salmon. But he's going to join in as a Dundee United fan, and we'll let Brendo pick any other team in the league that wasn't Rangers or Celtic, because we hate them. Because they're like the big fish in the small pond.
Oh, so I could have picked them.
No, that was the whole point of don't pick any of. No, you couldn't have. So we gave you the choice of however many other teams that left. Like, what was it, 7 or 8 or something? And then you want to tell us who you've picked? Do you even remember who you've picked?
I picked St Mirren because
There you go.
I thought of a young Helen Mirren, and yeah, I always.
Did she rock up in your DMs? Did she?
Oh mate, have you seen the young Helen Mirren? Holy shit! But then I'm like, all right, I'll go St Mirren, and then you boys just go ha 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 ha.
Pretty much.
So I'm fucked, pretty much.
So what is this bet, and how's it going to work, Haggis?
Well, that's the thing. We're still needing to work out the details. However, I think that what we've kind of settled on is that whoever the loser of, so for example, when Hats' Aberdeen play my St Johnstone, whoever is the loser of that game, if Aberdeen win, for example, I'll put X amount of Satoshis somewhere. We don't know where yet, but essentially we'll build up a big pot, and then at the end of the season, those sats, however much we've massed up, will be put towards a good cause. And we've again still to decide what that good cause will be, but I'm sure we'll definitely find one that'll be worthy of those sats.
And are you speaking on behalf of Salmon as well? He's okay with that?
Yeah, he's fine with that. Yeah, so I had
Awesome.
a little chat with him through the week just to make sure, and everything that we've discussed is a-okay.
Awesome.
You know what we should have done? We should have had Salmon, or invited Salmon, so he could actually DM us, but not actually be on. You know what I mean?
I have no idea what you mean.
Well, meaning he can actually contribute at least to the conversation without audibly being on the pod.
You understand this isn't live? Well, this is live.
No, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Right now, we invited him, if he was available, to not be on the actual chat itself, but still be on.
Well, you can still do that.
Yeah, all right.
He's probably at work though.
Yeah,
it's
true.
like whatever o'clock in the morning for Haggis, and it's
It was quarter to 11 in the morning, so yeah, well, he'd probably be at work. But
he's
who
only
knows?
on his third beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
they mentioned in the group chat last night at 12 minutes past midnight. Yeah, I just started pre-drinking for the podcast just now.
Yeah.
That's funny. So is that what we're going to do? So each time one of our teams play another one of our teams, I reckon if it's a draw, we should both have to be put in, and if it's somebody loses, it's just the loser. Is that fair?
That's good. That's fair. Yeah.
And I'm not going to follow any of it, so you're just going to have to tell me what I owe.
Right. Okay. You're going to pay.
Yeah, I'll pay.
You good for it? Okay. Cool.
Well,
because you're going to be paid.
We haven't talked about how much.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
What we thinking? Give us a number, Haggis. Throw us a number.
How many? Well, hang on. How many games do they play in a season?
Okay, so Scottish football teams generally play
it's going to get complicated now.
Generally 4 times a season, but it could be, if they play each other in the cup, it could be 5, could be 6. But generally 4 times a season.
Okay.
So you 12. What would that be? 3 teams, 4 times a season, 12 times.
Okay.
So maybe 15. Tops.
Okay. Whatever. You just tell me what to do. I don't care.
I mean, a number. I have no idea. I mean, 1,000 sats, a win.
I was going 5, but okay.
5. 6.15.
I don't care. You just tell me. You tell me what to do.
1,000 sats a game goes in the pot.
Well, we can leave that up to discussion when we go away from this. But yeah, that could be a good basis, and we'll see.
All right, man. That sounds fair. So what we're going to do is I'll keep a running tally of it. For anybody who's still with us and does care, there will be some Scottish football fans out there. There's some of us.
Yeah, you reckon? Like listening? I don't think so.
I don't know.
You two and Salmon.
That's it.
I reckon that's it.
There we go. And
there's a couple of the UK guys are also Scottish football fans. A couple.
Yeah, you are part of a bit of a mafia.
Yeah, there's the Scottish mafia, and then there's the UK Bitcoin mafia.
There's Collymore, and there's Glen Hoddle, and there's a few.
Glen Hoddle. There's there's quite a few of the British guys that are. We do have a massive Bitcoin DM chat. And if you want a funny story, there's actually a lot worse voice messages from that particular drunken night from me in that chat. So I'm glad you haven't got your fingers on those and put those in chat, because they are a lot worse. There's quite a few of us. It's Scottish football guys. There is a couple as well. So you'll get 5 listeners, something like that.
Well, sneakily, what's happening is between Haggis and I, we both want our team. And I'm sure Salmon does too, to be the first Scottish, because we're just little teams, right, generally, compared to the two ugly sisters, the big teams in Glasgow. And so we both want, or we all 3 of us, I'm sure, want our team to be the first team to be the Bitcoin standard Scottish Premier League team, because that team's going to crush it, just like Perth Heat are going to crush it, and anybody else who decides. I think PSV Eindhoven maybe has a little bit of Bitcoin on the balance sheet now too. There's a few, so maybe there's a team, maybe Southampton or somebody down England had a sponsor at some point at Southampton.
There's a couple down south sponsorships, that I've got, but I think they're just betting companies that take Bitcoin, to be honest with you. But
yeah, okay.
PSV Eindhoven, they've got it on the balance sheet. So,
and then there's obviously McCormack's shitcoin pub team. So
Bedford, is that what it
is? Bedford,
yeah.
But yeah, so we're really just trying to meme this into existence. I don't think we're going to be successful, but let's have a bit of fun with it, and we'll give some sats to something.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, once we've taken it all from St Mirren.
St what? Mirren.
St Mirren.
It's not St Mirren. It's St Mirren.
Mirren.
St Mirren.
Mirren. Truth of flaming galah.
Oh, that was woeful. Oh man.
Well, the thing is, hopefully we'll get a couple of new fans as well. Hopefully we'll see some replies, and someone back Aberdeen, someone back Saints, and someone back St Mirren, Dundee United, whatever. Hopefully there'll be some.
I want to see people having a real good goal.
Overseas Scottish football fans,
Yeah, there's bound to be a few.
Here we go.
Go on.
Sorry, Salmon's just said, on my break at work, should I join with a voice changer?
Sure. Can you do that?
I don't know. Probably not. I'll just say, come on in. Haggis is.
I didn't even know you could do that.
No, I
Voice
think
changer on
I think
this.
he's taking the piss. I don't think you can.
The also, excuse me for a second, Haggis. I just want to do. That was so two surprises. One was your voicemail for Brendo. The other is what's in my hand.
Can I just say he wouldn't tell me what this was?
No, this one is really good.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Also, Haggis was good.
I liked Haggis.
But this one is also good. So, and Haggis is going to like this too, right? I don't know if you listened to. We did a pod recently with Crispy. What was Crispy's bit Crispy?
Yeah, BTC_crispy maybe, I think.
Check it
or
out.
crispy_BTC.
So, and he was just about to have, or his partner was, yes, his partner was. So there's good news and bad news.
Hang on.
No, it's okay. It goes.
Okay.
This is good. It's a good ending. Trust me. We'll start with the good news. The little chip has been born.
Yep.
And the little chip was born at block 742513. Everyone is fine. Baby was born really easily.
Boy,
no
girl,
problem.
what do we got?
I'm not saying. I don't know if I can say.
Okay.
But that's the block. But everything is great. I got a message and I got a photo actually as well. So yeah, beautiful. So in third place was Brisket.
Okay,
Sorry,
I like this. This is good.
Sorry, Brisket, you were 1,635 blocks out. In second place is Daz. You were quite close to 602 blocks out. But in first place, and this is funny, is our friend Bodog.
Oh no! So what do we get? 30,000.
30,000
sats.
sats. So he was 508 blocks out. So Bodog, there are 30,000 sats. 10,000 of them are coming from Brendel.
Shit.
And we will pay up. It's a bet.
Oh, that's fucked.
Congratulations to Crispy and Mrs. Crispy.
Yeah, Crispy.
And
So
the little chip.
yeah, it's BI_T_Crispy. Crispy of Plebton.
There you go. Yeah, congratulations. I'm
Congratulations.
glad it's all
Congratulations, Crispy. Fantastic.
I love how people are like naming the block height of their child now. That's good, right?
Fucking Bodog.
Bodog. So yeah, Bodog, send us a DM and we'll send us a lightning invoice.
Send it to Hats. I'm not fucking answering.
We'll pay. Haggis, you took yourself off Twitter.
Yes,
Tell us why.
I did, mate. Yes. Excuse me. No, I just think that the noise was getting too much for the old soul. I think it was just a long time coming when you spend hours upon hours hours of scrolling through everything and keeping in touch with everyone. I just think eventually it came time just to call it quits. So, 2 months kind of roughly off and done a little bit of travelling actually. We've seen a couple of places down south, London, Dublin, that kind of thing. So it was good just to kind of recharge, if you say, because obviously the price dipped as well. So it was kind of during that as well. So you just got to take a wee step back and recharge the batteries, as you say, and then just back on it now and just getting back to memeing and all that kind of thing as well. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to getting back in the space and back in the conversations.
Would you recommend it to people? Because Brenda's done it a little bit as well. You've backed off a little bit as well.
Yeah, but I've never been like you or others where it's just again, hours upon hours. Like I'll log in and kind of half the time I'll refresh or hit the home button and I'll miss a whole ton. Then I'll scroll down and see some. And, which I like. I like not being super, super deep into it. Yeah.
We did just, before we came on there, Haggis, there was a poster that we both like who has unfollowed me, but anyway, there we go. Still follows Brenda. So clearly a bad judge of character. But how many did we work out?
Oh, he's
200.
So September 2021 that he actually joined Twitter with that account. He's done 64,500 tweets, or I guess tweet replies since September 2021.
I reckon like 200 a day or something.
Something like that. I don't know how the fuck you do that.
Yeah, that's
some amount of commitment. That
Oh my god,
proper Maxi. I mean, brilliant.
Should give him a shout out because a lot of his stuff is really good. It's Richard Dick Whitman is his actual thing, and it's _D Whitman BTC. A lot of people would know him because he's everywhere.
He is, and but I tell you what,
Yeah.
you'd sort of think by doing that many posts a day that your quality would drop.
No,
It
man.
doesn't.
No.
It's just toxic as it's brutal. But in a good, like in a sort of pointing out hypocrisy way, you know.
And I think what is good about him is that he actually goes out and looks for. he goes to Ethereum threads, or he goes here, or he goes there, and he will actually attack. You know what I mean? Not just see what's in his feed and go from there. So, shout out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing about Bitcoin Twitter is it's not just Bitcoin Twitter. You've got every other rabbit hole as well that you can dive into.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you were saying, like, would you recommend a break for someone that is like Mere Hats, where you're constantly scrolling, you want to read everything? Then yeah, I definitely would recommend one. I mean, it was brilliant for me just to not be constantly like that scrolling. So I would definitely say recommend one. It's definitely a long time coming. And it's a good time to do it because we're sort of in this period of uncertainty in the world and Bitcoin, bear market, whatever. So it's a good time to sort of build and better yourself, you know, when you're not in that sort of high intensity bull market phase, you know.
Yeah. So do you think it's the bear market that got you off it because of obviously the price dipping, or is it a lot more negativity and infighting, which seems to be what kind of comes out from bear markets?
Can I just quickly can you also refresh, just give us you don't have to tell us prices and anything, just give us a rough idea of what your timescale was to come in, like in terms, what is this in terms of a bear market for you? Is this number one or is this number two? Or I mean, I know it depends what you define as one, but like in terms of a major correction.
So for me, particularly, this would be number one well, not major correction, because we've had in the last, since I've been in for 2 and a bit years, so we've had like 40% corrections multiple times over the last 2.5 years. But in terms of like this, the feeling, the sustained and the feeling in the general sort of Twitter space, whatever, I hate that word space, but you could probably class this as the first one for myself. I think it was more on the negativity side. You just, you see a lot of that, like the kind of fighting, that kind of thing. So I think it was just to really say that, look, there's no educational value in the tweets I'm seeing now. There's no value at all. It's just people just whatever. So I think it was more that, and also the price as well. You need to take that into consideration. That the good thing is I'm not entirely underwater. I didn't disappear because I'm going to go fire myself off a bridge or something. But it was good. It was good, definitely good. And I think that it's definitely allowed me to grow the conviction even stronger, because that's the whole point of a bear market, isn't it? It allows you to go back to the drawing board, stack more sats, and also your conviction grows, doesn't it? Because that's when you realize the fundamental value of Bitcoin. You don't just focus on price. You are able to understand that, what Bitcoin is good for, how it will help us, etc., etc. So you get a little better understanding of what this thing can do for us. So I think that's probably the main thing as to why I took a break.
No, that's cool. I think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm not, I can say the right thing, I guess, but doing it is a harder thing, I think. But do
you reckon you could do it?
No. Honestly, well, I don't know. Well, interestingly, when I'm going to Africa in sort of September, October time, we're going to be 10 days, I think, without any connection. So not just Twitter, nothing.
Oh, all right.
So total cold turkey for 10 days. So whether I might try and sneak, an office somewhere where I get some connect, but I think it's generally be pretty much cold turkey. I'm kind of interested to see, because that'll be forced on me, because I don't think I could do it personally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an addict. I'm an addict. I behave like an addict, and that sounds pathetic. I understand. Like, Twitter is. I understand. Also, understand that Twitter isn't real life, but it can become for people, particularly in a drawdown time. Like, so this time for you is my 18. So, like, I was really, not euphoric, but like things were going well, and then things were going really not well. But then that, for me, it was the double down and learn in 18. So this is probably the double down for you, Brendo, as well. Like, to actually genuinely find your conviction, not just ride off the tails of somebody else's conviction, which is what I used to do too, right? And still do to an extent, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that there are people who, are really significantly underwater, overextended themselves, and are not shitcoiners, right? So, but they're still feeling the pain. They are still feeling the pain, because they thought, and they made a mistake in the sense maybe they've overextended themselves, but they've done it for the right reasons. So we have to sort of help these people as much as we possibly can.
Are they hurting? Why though? Because these are guys that are using leverage or have been.
Well, you don't necessarily have to have been using yes, anybody using leverage is, if you've gone even leverage on long Bitcoin, yes, you're feeling the pain because you probably had a margin call, and all of a sudden that Bitcoin that you think you had, you don't have so much, and it's pretty demoralizing. Where you had a target, you'd maybe reached your target, and now you're back below your target again. So that leverage, yes, but if any of these, you could just be a person who has a regular person with a regular job and a regular salary, and you were you'd gone 90% into Bitcoin because you thought the Bitcoiners were right, and they are, but that 10% that you've left yourself is when inflation starts to run and your bills start to run,
not enough.
It's not enough, so you're forced into the selling of Bitcoin when you don't want.
Remember
Richard said this at because his Richard James. So he got into that situation because he was in the travel business and COVID came along. No, he didn't do anything wrong. He was a hardcore Bitcoiner but just happened to be in the wrong industry when this horrible event happened. And then he had to sell some of his Bitcoin to continue the thing, and he did, and he's fine. But
I hope that's not too doxy.
No, he said that on the pod.
Oh, okay.
But also what he said in the pod was that's why he had the Bitcoin, because ultimately, if we genuinely believe it's our savings account,
yes,
you use it like a savings account, right? You spend it when you have to.
Yeah,
right? That's what the rainy day fund is for. The rainy day.
Yep.
Right. So he got his rainy day and he spent his rainy day fund. Now the difficulty with that. Sorry, I'm on a little bit of a rant. But the difficulty with that is obviously the rainy day happens at the time when the Bitcoin price is depressed. Right. So you're having to sell into a depressed market. So you're like, oh my god, one, I don't want to sell, and two, I'm selling into a low price.
Yeah.
Which is tough to take, right? And that's why all of us that are you should be 100% and put Bitcoin to the moon, and not, we all get those feelings sometimes, but when you come to this stage, that kind of
doesn't work.
It comes back to hit you in the face in a way, right?
Yeah.
So you have to.
It comes back to the argument. I remember when we were near an all-time high, there was the argument of the get on zero argument. If you remember that, which was, are you all in? So everything is in Bitcoin and you sell as and when you need, or are you the type of person that has like a DCA and a set amount they put away every month, but they keep fiat on hand for everyday expenses?
Yeah.
And when it's in the bull market scenario, you're sitting pretty comfortably. But then when you've been stuck, if you were all in at 45k or whatever, but now you're having to sell all the way down here. You're
thinking in pounds.
To struggle.
You're thinking in pounds, just
sorry.
Sorry. No worries.
Beg your pardon. Great British pounds, yes. So it comes back to that argument as well, doesn't it? If you were sitting comfortable up there, however, now you're in this position where the price is a lot lower than where you were stacking, having to sell for your everyday expenses can become really disheartening. It can be, on the mind, it can be very, very hard.
So the get on zero, I think, is a good idea, but it's only really a good idea if you've already been there for sort of 4 and 5 years, because there are those sats that you bought at whatever that would be 4 or 5 years ago that are not underwater, right? And probably, obviously caveat, no idea, but they're never going to be. I'd be very doubtful if 4 or 5 years ago sats for any prolonged length of time are ever going to be underwater, right? So if worst case scenario you're selling the stuff that you bought cheaply, you can think about it that way. You can sell the sats that you bought cheaply and not the ones that you bought up at 45 or 69, wherever we got to, or wherever the US dollar got to. So but anybody who was within the last 2 years or 3 years and bought all the way up to the peak and probably FOMO'd in near the top because they're like, oh, I'm right, I'm going to double down on myself because I can see I'm right, and then they're going, oh shit. And also, so that's one side of the equation, but the other side of the equation is, you go to Tesco, right, and you go, holy shit, what happened to the price of my mince? Right? And what is, so that's something I wanted to ask you, Haggis. So inflation numbers in the UK now are running at 9.1, same as in America.
Yeah.
How is that for you? Like, what are you seeing?
I mean, your standard going around the supermarket, you can see the difference straight away. It's not like initially, as it was creeping up in the sort of like 5, 6s, you weren't really seeing anything too major. However, you see it, especially now in the price of fruit and veg, and meat is the big one that you can really, really see it as well. And in Scotland, perhaps you'll know this as well. Obviously, in Scotland we have the minimum pricing alcohol thing.
Oh yeah.
If you remember that, yeah. So we've got that as well. So especially for things like alcohol, you can see the difference because we've already got an added tax on alcohol, and then on top of that, we've got 9.1% inflation. So even things like that is looking very, very expensive now. And I think that
Haggis, 2
the
seconds.
general
Rewind a
consensus
second, mate. Explain that for Brenda, would you please?
Oh, sorry.
And maybe for everybody else that doesn't understand.
Oh, beg your pardon. Yes. So the minimum pricing alcohol thing is essentially I think it's per unit
Yeah,
of
I think so.
alcohol in whatever it is, a beer or a spirit or whatever. There's a certain amount of tax that gets added onto that because in Scotland, as you can tell by the voice note at the beginning of the podcast, we're all alcoholics. So they thought if they increase the price of alcohol, it'll stop people drinking, but evidently it doesn't.
Yeah.
Case my point. So
tax, right?
yeah, essentially it's just lining the pockets of the 1% even more. So it is what it is. But so I think the general consensus right now is that things are starting to get a little bit interesting, especially obviously fuel and stuff. I mean, I'm the car I drive is a diesel, and I'm £2 per litre of diesel now, and it's really expensive.
It's now 1 point.
Yeah.
So what are we talking there? So
$3.80 or
$3.68 a litre of diesel. There you go.
And that's just a litre, yeah.
What are we for diesel? I don't know what we are for diesel.
250-ish, I think.
For diesel.
We're currently over here they've so I think tax on fuel over here is 44 cents a litre, but they've halved it for a period of, I can't remember, 3 months maybe, which ends up in September. So another 22 cents are going to come back on, but we are not the same as you guys are. That said, the geography of Australia is different and it's massive, and some people travel a long way.
Yep.
The truckies and all these, the guys that travel between capital cities over here are traveling a long way, and to fill up a cost of an 18-wheeler or something must be astronomical, right?
Yeah,
so we all have to pay for that through the price of our whatever it is that they're carrying. So we might not see it so much in the fuel, but we might see it in the products, right? But you guys are, and I think we're seeing, I can't tell you the Australian number, but it's like 5. We're at the low end, but we're like 5.
I'm not sure. You'd know 5 something.
I read it recently. I think maybe 5.6, but don't quote me on that one. But the UK is 9.1, and so that's double what we're seeing, right? Basically.
Yeah.
So it's become obvious to, it's obvious to anybody that's looking now.
And that's a good point too. So you're talking about, say, truckers that are paying this much for fuel. Not everyone realises, I think, that inflation, like the actual kind of flow-on effects of it as well. They go, right, yeah, my toilet paper, my groceries, whatever, have gone up. This is ridiculous. And then everyone, governments are saying, no, it's, these companies charging exorbitant prices. But when you've got the guys couriering these things and their prices go up, they've got to pass on those costs.
They do.
And it just goes, just like a fucking domino effect.
Well, what you get to begin with, you take a restaurant for example. So, like, if you're we're in a small town, not a huge amount of restaurants. So when input costs, I was speaking to a guy day before. He's a chef, and I was just asking how things going, and he's like, I was in the place, right? And he said, how was it? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, how was it? Oh, it was really good, but we're going to make a few changes to the menu. So he said that because we're going to change things up a little bit for the customers, but we're also having to put $1.50 onto every item, right? Yeah, and the $1.50.
Oh, you can't say where that is, obviously. You'll tell me after.
Yeah, but we're talking like a good quality burger joint, not like a McDonald's.
I know.
Yeah, right. So, but $1.50. So you're talking like £1 onto, just a little bit less than £1 onto every single menu item, right? Now. But they've held off because they don't. Well, firstly, in a small community, you don't want to be the one that goes first, because you're like, you're just taking advantage of us all, putting the prices up. But also, at some point you have to go, right? You have to pass on. You don't run a restaurant. Yeah, okay, you might enjoy cooking food, but you're running. If it's a business, you're running it to make money. Yeah. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with this. You didn't feel bad about making money.
You don't want to make less money for the same output.
Well, I read a thing, and I still obviously follow.
When your expenses go up as well,
right?
So, yeah.
I read a thing I think it was the UK hospitality industry body. Can't remember what they're called, and they're stating just now that 40% of the businesses they represent are not making a profit. 40%. Now, at some Either you close or your prices go up. That's it. That's the choices. Eventually, right? You can maybe stomach it for a while, but you can't stomach it forever.
Yeah, so I mean, the things that I've seen, things like, for example, the anti-theft devices are now being put around things like cheese and baby milk, formula milk, the powdered milk stuff, the little devices that wrap around, etc. Things like that. So obviously, the supermarkets and businesses are now becoming much more aware that the price of things are starting to steadily creep up, and they're taking measures, obviously, to protect their livelihoods, etc. But even seeing things like that, like a theft device around cheese, it's just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. I mean, and at 9.1% inflation, if you're not getting the pay rise to match it, and what are you now? That 9.1% you're looking at, what's that? Just over a month of the year you're now working for nothing, essentially.
Yeah, before tax,
something like that. Yeah,
but even
before tax,
all those extra anti-theft devices, like that's costing them money, and they're not absorbing that.
No, the price of that cost will also be. So I don't believe we see it locally. So what I'm seeing locally, and I could be wrong in this, but there have been a lot more house break-ins and car thefts and things like that, and I'm like, we never had that here before. Like, and we live in a kind of small area, but it's growing. Post-COVID, a lot of people emptied the cities, so this place has grown quite a lot. So you're going to there's more people. There's going to be more of everything, good and bad. But also, I just think I fundamentally don't believe in bad people. I just believe that desperate people do desperate things. Don't get me wrong. There are some crazy lunatics in the world, but I don't believe they are a big percentage of the population. I just think desperate people do desperate things. And yeah, when you start to see like car break-ins, house break-ins, like nobody wants to do that. Like nobody wakes up one day going, "Oh, I know what I'm going to rob from my neighbor, or I'm going to rob." They don't want to do that. They do it because they can't eat, right? They want to eat, and it's okay that they want to eat. That's all right. And I'm not making an apology. No, none of us want to change, and I don't want to do that either. But I remember, I don't know, is this a bit doxy? I remember saying to my wife, like, I can't imagine where I'd get to the point where I'd want to throw we were watching some demonstration somewhere, right? And I was like, I can't imagine getting to the point where I wanted to throw a brick at a policeman, right? I just can't. I want to respect the police. I do. I want to respect the police. But and then she said, yeah, but what if they threw a brick at the kid? I'm like, yeah, I would throw a brick right in his face immediately. So does that make me a bad guy?
Makes your wife an anarchist.
Yeah, clearly. But I'm proud of that. I'm lucky. But yeah, it's just I don't believe, just get people that are having a hard time of it start to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do because they don't want to do it. And actually, it probably makes them feel worse because they also don't want to be doing it. And it's, and it's just happening everywhere. Like, this isn't isolated one country, two countries, three countries. This is like everywhere.
And it's underreported.
Well, and it's not even when it is reported, it's not even accurate. It's not even, unreported or underreported, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the Sri Lanka stuff. Sorry, I can't really say that properly, but we seen that, what was going on there, the coup storming the presidential palace, etc. We seen that days before it was reported on mainstream media news over here. I seen it on Twitter.
Yep.
I don't know, it must have been, I can't remember exactly. Anyway, but there's things like that. And even when they were in the process of reporting it, like you say, it didn't even scratch the surface of what the actual problem was. They were trying to paint it as problems directly with the president. And yeah, obviously some of that would have been the case. However, it's because these people were struggling, they're starving, they can't afford to get the things they used to be able to afford. And it's all because all their money's getting printed away.
Yeah, and I saw yesterday that so he's fled to, I think it's the Maldives, because you would flee, right? That's just a human reaction when a mob is coming for you, to flee, right? And if you end up in the Maldives, all the better, right? But the Prime Minister has said that the army the order is restore order. Like, what the hell does that mean? Restore order. That means, I don't know. I don't want to speculate what it means. I think everybody can work out for their own mind what it means, right? But it's like, there's desperate people hungry, needing fuel. They can't work. They can't get to work. Their jobs disappeared. The price of everything's gone up. And basically, we're all at the whim of the US dollar. Yeah. We're all at the whim of whatever Jerome Powell does tomorrow. All of us, every country in the world. Which is just incredible. That one man or a committee of 6 men can sit down and decide what everybody else's fate is tomorrow. Can you imagine trying to operate a business in this climate? Like, where do you allocate your money? Do you invest for the future? Do you try and hold on to staff? Do you imagine that? Like, staff members you maybe had for 15 years, you're going to have to let them go because you're not making the money anymore, or your products you're getting 9% inflation, you can only pass on 4% to the customer, or whatever it is. It's just... it's going to be really, really, really difficult for people. And I know this sounds really negative, but it's like negative. It is negative, so let's say it for what it is. And I guess the flip side of that is, when you are also living... My other world, the Bitcoin world, is the most hopeful place I've ever lived. Right?
Especially in a bear market.
Well, I mean, with the caveat that, other people are having a hard time. I mean, I am too, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm feeling the pain too. But it's like, that's a hopeful place to be. And this other thing is horrible. This other place is horrible. It's a horrible place to live. And the vast majority of people don't even know about Bitcoin. They've heard the word, but they don't know what it is. So they're only living in this really negative, increasingly worse place.
Because they don't know about the alternative, or they don't...
I don't even think maybe they don't even think there is an alternative.
Yeah, well, same.
Yeah, certainly they don't think that Bitcoin is the alternative.
Yeah.
Because the message that's painted to them every time they pick up a newspaper or a turn on their television or whatever is awful.
Ponzi.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The difficult thing is as well, I find that especially now, compared to, like, even despite cost of living crisis and despite Bitcoin price tanking, I'm always looking to orange pill the next person. And especially now, when, say, trying to orange pill someone 2 years ago was a lot easier because obviously people had more money. The COVID had just started to kick off and people were in a lot better position. However, now, especially when this cost of living crisis is starting to get on their way, how do we start to orange pill these people when they don't have the little bit of cash spare to put into a DCA, because they really could be struggling. Like, I know we always joke that it's always just don't buy your morning coffee, £5, $5 a day. DCA will save you, etc. But for some people, even that is the difference between going with food or going without food. It is difficult, and that's something that I'm still trying to learn, is how to not to tackle these people. That's probably, for want to use a better word, but how to discuss Bitcoin with these people, knowing they're in a really, really difficult financial situation now, as it is, caused by the rampant inflation.
The one thing that makes me slightly hopeful is that it used to be nobody would say they're in a difficult financial position because the shame that comes with that, right? Because everybody thinks, well, you've got yourself into a negative financial position, it's your fault, and I'm never going to tell anybody I'm poor, because there's a shame that goes with that. Whereas now it's getting to the point where everybody's discussing how much everything's costing, how hard it is to make ends meet, and it's becoming okay to say it, which is a good thing, right? Because then if we can at least have that conversation, we can go, oh well, yeah, I'm feeling that too. Yeah, I'm not buying this anymore, or I'm changing, changing from whatever supermarket to the other supermarket because it's a cheaper supermarket, right? And people need to. There's a real big thing. Like, people, of course, there have been people getting involved in things that are ridiculously stupid, but they need to realize that there is an alternative, and the big picture problem, they didn't cause it. It's not their fault. It's just something that is forced upon them as it's being forced upon everybody else. It's like, I would say poorer people have probably understood the issue more because they've felt it for a long time. Yeah, they've felt squeezed, but now the squeeze is coming up and up and up. The social, whatever you want to call that, the middle class or the lower upper class. Well, I hate all that class system, but that's, the people with a little bit more than the people who have a little bit less, right? So it's just I'm hopeful that people feel able. Hopefully, they feel able to at least discuss it with their friends and family, and that things are difficult, and then they can maybe get them to the conversation of, okay, what do I do instead? Because before they were not even thinking of what do I do instead. They were like, this is just what I do.
But Haggis's point though is a really good one. Like the people that are so desperate and potentially don't know where their next meal is coming from, how, even if they see Bitcoin as a potential lifeboat,
they can't do anything about it anyway.
No. How do they go, right, I'm going to buy Bitcoin instead of eating today?
So I don't...
That's when it comes down to pure need, actual...
Mm-hmm. So I don't think they do, is the
survival.
Short answer. I have tweeted about this before. Well, I think we get to the point where we're getting to the point anyway. We're getting close to the point that the vast majority of people are not going to buy Bitcoin. They are only going to earn Bitcoin. They're going to start working for Bitcoin. So, but for people to be encouraged to work for Bitcoin, Bitcoin has to be going up.
Yes.
They have to see the value in Bitcoin go up. So, and Bitcoin will go up when, if and when, Powell pivots, right? When the tightening narrative stops. Like, be interesting to know if Japanese people right now are thinking, should I work for Bitcoin? Because the value of Bitcoin will be doing better against the yen.
Yeah.
Right. So, because they're just QE on steroids, right? And they're just still doing it, whereas the rest of us are sort of, rest of us certainly where we three are, we're in this sort of tightening phase right now. But at some stage that has to stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And when it does, the QE or the money print or whatever you want to call it, the stimulus, or it has to be massive to make any difference. Massive.
Yeah. I mean, the stimulus has already sort of started here. I mean, the UK are doing £650 cost of living payment, and the first one is soon. I can't recall exactly the date, but it's this. You get half of it first, and it's like 325, and then another 325 at some other point. But that's to low income households, and obviously it always starts at low income households. But I think eventually that program is going to get extended more and more and more, and it's going to just eventually involve the whole. And you're saying about class system, the whole sort of lower class, and then the whole middle class as well. So it's just going to be all the normies essentially. So we're already seeing that sort of stimulus, and it's only going to get bigger as time goes on.
It said, I just saw the BBC this morning. Haggis, it's 326 cost of living payment. Doesn't actually say the start date. I've not got the whole article here, but direct payments to help with the soaring cost of living are starting to be paid by the government into 8 million people's accounts. 8 million.
8 million, that's crazy. Yeah, that's a lot of people.
And the population over there is what, 65? So you're talking more than 1 in 10.
That's a one-off payment, or are we talking like
two payments of £325,
and that's
then
it.
Beyond? But where do you stop? How can you stop if the costs don't come back down? Like if fuel costs don't come back down, if your energy bill, like right now it's July, it's Scotland in July. It must be beautiful. Is it sunny?
Oh, we're in the middle of a heat wave right now. And,
there you go.
We were on Sunday. We were 27 degrees Celsius, which is like, you'll know, that's
coming home.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. But I mean, even like with the cost of living payments as well, is that it also ropes into the whole new world order as well, the World Economic Forum. If you're starting to give people free money, these people aren't. I don't want to generalize, but these people eventually are going to want to work if they're getting their bills paid from. If this 650 payment becomes £1,500 a month, £2,000 a month, when things get really bad, people aren't going to want to work, and it's going to get to the point where they're going to be heavily reliant on that government money. And that's the thing that we need to stop and get in between, is before they turn it into CBDCs, is get them on that Bitcoin standard. But it's beginning now, and it's happening. Everything we've been talking about for the last 2-3 years about where life is going to go, it's happening now. And this is the start of it.
Isn't that crazy though? I've said this before though. It's like Bitcoiners have just been right
consistently
about everything. So like, you know, you see something about, you know, won't be too long before this happens or that happens. You go, oh, no way, man.
Yep.
No way. And then,
sure enough, 3 months down the line. This is what I said to you, because like you read all these, when you first come in, you read all this sort of toxic side of things, and you're like, oh, that's a bit much. And then, and to begin with, I would be like, oh, that's a bit much. But then I went, well, just give it 6 months and then reform your opinion on that, because, you know, because I'd seen it enough that I was like, oh, well, I was wrong. So it's like, okay, we'll have to revise my thought process. But can I ask you a question? And I don't answer this if you don't want to, but if and when that payment is offered to you, Haggis, will you take it? Because I think you should. I'll just preface this with I think you should, because if you don't, you get poorer as a result, even if, you know.
I mean, absolutely. I know that, like, I would say, yeah, absolutely take it. I mean, at the end of the day, it is free money, sort of. But the difference is that in my financial situation is I will be able to put, if that payment does come, probably will at some point, I'll be able to put a significant amount of that into Bitcoin. However, this payment for others is a lifeline. You know, they need that, because the difference, this payment is the difference between, like we said earlier on, it's between eating or not eating. So but yeah, I think I would take it, definitely.
I mean, this winter is, for Northern Europe, this winter is going to be, for a lot of people, it's going to be a situation of food or heat. And they'll choose food. Right? Because you have to choose food. So, yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on jumpers. Like, I'm bullish on jumpers. What can I tell you? Buy a sleeping bag, yeah? I mean, yeah, an hoodie.
You could probably get a clothing range, 2-bit idiots on hoodies, and sell those to Bitcoiners. I'll make a fortune.
Yeah. It's nuts though, right? I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny, right?
No, it's crazy, and like, it's just it's funny, because not in a way, like, we're talking about this not disaster situation, but like, we all three of us know the shape of the world, where we're going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We know exactly, pretty much. And we're sitting here talking about it, and we're obviously not, you know, it's like, how do we go about our lives normally? But how do you act normal knowing the direction we're going in? That, do you get where I'm coming from? It's hard. Like, you know, we've just got, you know, you go out for a beer, you go out for something to eat, and you've just got to act normal. But you know things aren't normal. Like, that's the thing that's the thing that I'm now starting to sort of get into now. It's like, holy, like, where are we? You know, it's just bananas. And the unfortunate thing is that everyone in my social circle is now starting to realize the same. Like, when I first got in, Salmon and I, we did the whole, you know, telling everyone how things were going to pan out over COVID, over everything, lockdowns, etc. And obviously they didn't buy it, didn't believe us. However, now we're coming out the back of it, and they're starting to see the damages that it's caused, the inflation, etc. And they're reasoning, oh, maybe these guys actually do know what they're talking about, and they're starting to listen to us a lot more.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you getting people coming back to you and going, oh, so
yes,
a lot,
like, yeah.
So how does that conversation go? Like, how does that?
Well, it's just the whole, like, you know, when they don't come back to you, you don't sit and smirk at them and go, oh, I knew you'd come back, etc. You just stay humble about it, obviously, you know, stay humble, stack sats, all that kind of thing. But it's interesting, because at the end of the day, these people that, even though 2 years ago they might have called you crazy, they might have called you whatever name under the sun, but at the end of the day, they're still your friends. You know, they're still your family members. They're on your side. You know, at the end of the day, we all need to stick together on this thing. The people versus the real people, who are the enemies, the government, etc. So you just welcome them with open arms and say, you know, I'm glad you're to be on side, and you just educate them and let them really know. No, that's pretty much it.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, it's to see them come back. See, the weird thing for me is, like, what the ones that you've not quite got yet is, like, why would a central banker somewhere care more about you than me, your son, brother, cousin, friend? Like, I'm not here to scam you, and you know me. Like, you've known me your whole entire life, so I'm not here to scam you. I'll do, if anything, I will try and talk you out of buying too much Bitcoin, right? You know, so why are you listening to this nice newspaper, television channel, politician, banker over your friend that's trying to talk to you, and as you hopefully more of those conversations, like more and more people who go, oh yeah, Haggis was actually onto something, I should really chat to him, and he's the Bitcoin, or at least when somebody goes, maybe I should get some Bitcoin, they know that you're the guy, right? Because you've annoyed them before.
Yeah, but it's also, I think it's a less palatable truth. I mean, it is the truth, but it's far less palatable than your breakfast show that has, a water skiing squirrel, dispersed with the weather and other kind of celebrity news and those kinds of packages. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you, for all that you do, realize that person cares about you more than whoever the morning show presenter is, that what they're saying to you is a lot less easy to take than what the morning show guy is.
Exactly.
He's selling you, she's selling you like maybe you'll win $1,000 if you spin this water pistol or whatever.
Yeah.
And you won't. But yeah.
I think the reality is now as well is that 2 years ago, pre-COVID, 3 years ago, the things that we talk about in this space and the things that we discuss, they're scary. They're very scary. Like the reality of dollar crashing and the whole system coming down is scary. However, now I think people are almost ready to face scary. That's what I'm starting to see, is that more people are starting to realize that I need to, put the big boy pants on and essentially go from there.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I think you might be right, but I also have to hope you're right as well. It's going to be more there's going to be more coming. But we just see. It's funny because you go through this. Oh, I'm in an investment, or I'm in a thing that's going to go up in value, and this is going to be good for me, and I want it to go quickly, and that's the mindset, right? And anybody who says differently is a fucking liar when they first get in. Unless you're Satoshi, right? But once you get beyond that, it can take a while. But once you get beyond that, you're like, the best thing that could happen here is like a really slow transition. Yeah. Like the value of this just goes up by a couple of percent, a few percent. They'll be boring as shit, and it'll be annoying as anything because you're like, oh my god, how long do we have to wait? But the best thing for the masses is that this happens slowly. But the flip side of that is everything's speeding up. Right? You can see it.
Yeah.
People are like, I love this on Twitter. You get a lot of what's going to be the first thing to break. And I'm like, have you not seen like everything right now? Like, do you want me to give you? Do you want to give you a 400 headlines of all of the broken things because they're broken?
Yeah.
There is a war going on. People in Sri Lanka did storm the presidential palace. German people are paying 5 times the fuel. There is inflation running.
I don't know how Turkey's not a bigger story.
No, it's mental.
It's ridiculous.
But there's Effie, right, who is now. I think this is okay.
Working for a Bitcoin company.
Working for a Bitcoin company, earning, I assume, US dollars or Bitcoin. So, which is great. So there's an example of a guy who's smart enough to work out and been early enough to work out, but also has then changed his behavior and is now probably doing quite well. But at the same time, he's still living around everybody else who's struggling. It doesn't make it easy. It just makes it easy for you, or easier for you. But you still have to watch the other thing.
I was in Turkey in May, the beginning of May, and it was, I think they printed around 60% inflation while I was over there. And I remember when I was in it was just a little corner shop, and a guy actually had a big, massive spreadsheet on his computer tracking the prices of everything that we were buying because inflation was that high. And seeing that, I was just like, oh my, I could literally see, it was just some bits and bobs that we were buying, but I could see him looking up the current price of whatever it was because of how everything was changing. And he said to us, he was like, if you're paying, please could you pay us in either euros or US dollars? We don't really want lira. And he said that to us straight up, like, look, ideally, can I have US dollars? And obviously we didn't have any, we had euros. But everywhere we went, not a single person was keen to take lira for obvious reasons, but everyone was saying, oh, please euros, please US dollars. And to see that firsthand was just mind-boggling. It was crazy.
So this is you just go to the what was it I had listened, was it Preston and Lawrence Laporte, I think, where you just go to the thing that's better than your thing.
Yeah.
That's what you do, right? Or the most low barrier thing that's better than your thing. So if your thing is the Australian dollar and it goes to shit, and the New Zealand dollar is better, you take the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand dollar goes to shit. You go to the British pound. You go to the euro. Then you go to US dollar. But eventually, where you're coming to is Bitcoin. It's just that if only people could get there in one step rather than five. Because of it, ultimately, I mean, I do think the American dollar, US dollar, is going to be strong until it isn't. It's going to be the strongest. That's a stupid thing to say, but it's going to be strong until it isn't, right? It's going to be the strongest.
I mean, it's that is the thing. The US dollar, unfortunately, still is king, isn't it? It is going to be for the next wee while. Like, I don't think, this is obviously just my opinion, and it might be controversial to some, but I don't think we're going to see the whole US dollar going to zero soon. I think that's more of a long-term thing, because it is always going to be it's not always going to be the world reserve currency, but it is going to be for the next little while, I think. But we definitely will see all the others crash around it, I think. I mean, look at the euro. That's sub parity now.
Yep.
You don't get, it's $1 gets you like 98 cents or something like that now. So
what was, before that happened, what was the euro kind of sitting at consistently?
It was like 15, 120, something like that.
Okay.
Something.
I mean, I remember it's like as far back when it
Sorry, go on.
Even as far back when it started, it was like 172.
Yeah, wow.
When it first started off, when the euro became a thing. Stuff. Yeah, before, like obviously Southern Europe's totally bankrupt. So yeah, so you used to get quite, a good rate now, but now it's always dead on arrival because of the way the EU works. And that's another thing that I think will be on the horizon, is the breakup of the EU as well. I think that'll be coming ahead soon.
Man, this is one of the more positive pods we've ever had.
But it's just the reality. It's just the situation it is, right? Yeah, so we're 120. Well, yeah, 115 to 125 was sort of the range in the last 5 years. But you're right. Before that, you were up at the 160s, 170s, and that's for a currency, like a major world currency. To start doing that against another major world currency is a huge move.
And who was it? Is it Chile? No, someone's about to adopt the euro.
Croatia.
Chile? I don't know where I got Chile from. I knew it started with C.
I'm glad we made it. Just lighting things up again. Oh, shit. Yeah, Croatia. I was like, and I'm told what a dick of a post this is, but I was like, oh, awesome. Croatia's beautiful. I'm going to buy it. That is the craziest move. That is
but are they like shitting themselves now, going, fucking hang on a minute. I don't know what it is.
I couldn't actually tell you the Croatian currency off the top of my head.
The Croat.
No idea.
Come back to me maybe. But the but the reality is their currency is probably shitter than the euro.
Yeah.
Right. So the euro is shit, like total dog shit. But it's probably better off. So this is to the thing that's slightly better than you. Yeah. So Brendo has this thing, and I'm trying to think what everybody's. I don't mean what you manufacture a persona on Twitter, right? I mean what actually it's like a nickname, right? A nickname's not cool if you give it to yourself. It's a nickname's cool when somebody else gives you.
Where are you going with this?
Well, you've kind of become I'll start with me. Right, and then I want to go to Haggis. But so I think I've become the countdown guy on Twitter, like, because I do the countdown. Right, nobody gives a shit about my posts. But I do this countdown every now and again, so people notice it. Yeah. You've become
the target. I've become a target.
No. You've become
fucking. I thought.
Well, yeah, you have become that, but you've also become, and you have to give. I love how you have to give him 10,000 sats. But you've become the Jack guy. What did you say?
Jack guy?
You. So Brendo has this habit of every time that Mallers and Dorsey go quiet, he's like, I want to get jacked off, or whatever it is you say.
That's what I said, yeah.
But 2 or 3 times you've actually, it's like 2 days later, it's been like, news drop. You just did it again recently. I've been waiting for it.
Has there been one?
There's not been one. That's what I mean. I'm like, whoa, where is it?
I did something about Jack Mallers a while back saying...
And it dropped immediately.
It feels like Jack Mallers is due for something, and then he commented on it, which did really well.
Oh, right, I see.
Yeah, I don't remember what the drop was. But...
So, Haggis, you've got the Scottish angle covered. What is your thing? Do you have a thing?
Oh wait, sorry. So I'm Mr. Exclusive. Is that what you're saying?
No, you're like you're the guy that's getting jacked off. That's you. I'm the countdown guy. And Haggis, what are you?
I have no idea.
Maybe just.
I'm
like,
just Haggis. That's it.
Just Haggis.
Yeah. I don't know. Buckfast, maybe. I can go with that.
Oh, awful.
No,
That's
roll with
a
Buckfast.
you don't even know.
Yeah.
What
I don't know what you just said.
There is a
No, I don't think I've got one. I've not got a gimmick or a nickname, unfortunately. I'll need to get one.
I think
Haggis.
I think Haggis is but I think Haggis has got the Scottish Twitter sewn up. I think he's the guy.
Oh, big time. You
But
sound like James McAvoy.
He does sound a bit like
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Absolutely.
Oh, you don't look like him. You just sound like him.
But this is his proper voice for the podcast. You should hear him talking in the pub. Hang on, let me play you another excerpt.
You've got to over enunciate yourself just so Brendo can understand.
Yeah, and I still don't. So there you go. That's another reason I don't go on Twitter anymore. I can't handle the abuse.
Is there something in that? I mean, I don't mean for you personally, because you can handle the abuse largely, but like, can we overstep? Can you overstep the mark? Is that?
Well, I don't know. What do you mean? I don't know how to answer that.
Like, is it like, particularly in right now where people are suffering, or is it just go for the neck because it's actually what's good for people?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it's the whole immune system, Bitcoin immune system, right? So people going for the neck, like let's say Dick Whitman, he goes for the neck, but he's not doing that, I don't think, with any real malice. He's just calling out bullshit.
No, the intent is great.
Yeah.
And this is why you can't legislate for intent. Like,
No.
that's why if you start blocking speech, like, you could say, offensive words, and I could say offensive words, and Haggis could say offensive words, and they could be exactly the same words, but we could all mean them in different ways and say them in different environments
and take them in different ways.
Take them in different ways. Yeah. So how can you legislate for that? You can't, right?
No.
So people got to take it on the chin, or what? Like, how do you?
I don't know.
I mean, I think that's what the beauty of spaces as well. I mean, you see, when you go into spaces, you obviously get to hear people. You're able to understand what
the context,
the actual
context and the way they annotate themselves. I think that's definitely a good thing as well. That needs to be explored more, especially as spaces and utilized. To say that's probably a better word, utilized.
Do you go on many spaces? Much spaces?
To listen, yeah, it's just to do so to listen. I obviously haven't done a much recently, but it's good because you get to listen to your Matt Odell's, you get to listen to the people who know Bitcoin inside out. People much smarter than myself talk about something that we both have a common interest in, and it's like the meme where it's Baby Yoda listening to the OGs of Bitcoin. That's us, and then when we share that information to our friends, we are the actual Yoda, So it's like that meme. Yeah, and that's how you feel, especially on things like spaces, and it's raw as well. I always feel like obviously a podcast is raw as well, but you can cut and edit and etc. Whereas spaces, it is literally live. You're speaking to people as you are. So that's another beauty of it as well, is that you do get that sort of authentic feeling to it.
You have other Bitcoiners, but you don't. There's not a specific Bitcoin meetup or anything that you go to, is there? No,
there's that. There actually has been a Scottish one arranged. However, it's full of shitcoiners, so none of us have decided to go to that yet. It's actually getting a lot of. I know Bitcoin Lebowski's hot on the tail of the guy that's arranging it because he was a total sellout.
It's Lebowski.
It's
Sean Lebowski.
No, he's not Scottish.
Right,
I think he is British.
Is he?
But he is. Yeah, so I think so. Don't quote me on that, but I think he is. But he was hot on the tails of him because the guy that was arranging it, his handle escapes me. He's actually from Dundee, and he was a shitcoiner. However, once he realised there was a market for a Scottish Bitcoin event, he went through his Twitter and purged absolutely everything. But obviously, us Bitcoiners, we got all the tweets that he was tweeting about Cardano and Ethereum and fucking shitcoin number 324. So yeah, there's no formal meetup, Bitcoin only formal meetup in Scotland at all, as far as I'm aware.
Start one.
You're the man.
Yeah, I think I need to get on that. There's definitely a market for one, so I think
The
I think
Haggis
we'll need
hang.
to get something arranged.
Yeah, the haggis hang, nice.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, like the one that happens over here is just created by two guys who, one lives in Canberra, one lives in Brisbane, and they met up in a little town and for beers to talk about Bitcoin, and then put out a tweet, and 50 people turned up. Like there was no and it's free. Like it's you don't
And
Yeah, no
that's one
formalities.
of the most beautiful things about it too, that it was just totally organic. It's like, come and do this, and now it's become this massive thing.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, that's how I've always envisioned it. Like, there is a good couple of Scottish Bitcoiners on Twitter, like Charlie Rennie, McSatintosh, Donner Heeds, myself, Salmon. There's a good few. So I think that we've always briefly chatted about it, and it would generally just be a couple of pints in a pub and talk about Bitcoin. It's not going to be some big whole event. It's not going to be anything like that. So it would always be something organic, like you say, just a casual chat with a couple of mates, because we've been speaking for so long, so it wouldn't be anything like that, So it's definitely something that should be explored, I would say.
Yeah, I think you could be the guy.
Get that arranged.
The first round on Haggis. Does anybody want to go? Mate, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to play one more excerpt from my DMs, if that's okay with you. It's not too. You can, if you don't want. Oh God, I've lost this one as well.
Oh.
If I don't want, I'll take it out if you don't want to. But here we go.
No, crack on you go.
I'm recording a voice so you can put it in the podcast. So Hats, you're a fucking Aberdonian bastard, and fucking Brendo, you're part of shite, mate, right? You're part of shocking, right? You put that in the podcast, you censor it, put it on the podcast. Just do it.
There will be no censoring happening here.
Again, that's great. I don't actually remember that one. So there you go. You can have that. Don't remember that at all.
I love it, mate. It's the best message I've ever woken up to in the morning.
I know why you didn't share it with me.
Yeah. I want to go. So yeah, man. I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you very much for coming on. We will do the bet. We'll get Salmon in on that. The season starts soon. We'll work that one out. Brendo's freaking. He doesn't care. I'm just going to ask him for money. Yeah. Because he's going to lose a lot. Congratulations again to Crispy and Crispy's wife or partner, not sure, and the new baby. Yep. And what else roundup do we need?
Nothing. Haggis is a legend, and I talk parcel tongue or something. Is that what he said? My patter's sheet.
There you go.
That was Irish.
That's a solid effort. That was a solid effort.
It's not bad. All right, man. Mate, thank you. Let's do this again. Let's do this again, particularly once that St. John's team of yours have lost a few sats, and we're going to meme this into reality, and if we don't, you can buy them one day. All right, let's roll that.
Let's do it. Yep, thanks, mate.
Legend, Haggis.
No worries.